Hello and welcome back to the channel and welcome to yet another beer in my Origins series. That's right, today we're going to be taking a look back at Theakston's Old Peculier to work out, well, in 2023, is it any good or is it just a little peculiar? Now, bad puns aside, there is a reason I'm doing that this week, and that is because, well, a couple of weeks ago now, I went up to the glorious brewing town of Masham in Yorkshire, and, well, to be honest, had quite a wintry trip. Images on screen now, but we camped out in these conditions, which was a little bit unexpected, but at the same time we were right near a glorious pub which pulled fantastic pints of both Theakston's and Black Sheep, and I enjoyed many, I did indeed. So today we're going to take a look at Theakston's Old Peculier, run it through the normal, well, Origin series, is it still any good rhetoric, and then we're also going to compare it to this. And you may be thinking, what is this? And this is the Spirit of Old Peculier. This is beer, that beer, Old Peculier, and it's been distilled into hard liquor, a spirit. Now, it's got a bit of a kind of orange hue to it, as you'd expect from a rum or a whiskey, and that is because it has also been aged in wood barrels. And to be honest, well, given the ingredients are very much the same as whiskey, it's not whiskey, but it's damn close. So yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to see what happens when you drink the same thing in both kind of distilled and regular form, to see how much crossover there is and, well, which one's better. But before we do any of that, we've got to find out what the beer is like itself, and before we break into it, here is a quick look at the bottle. Very trad, but I think they have updated this in recent years, and it's got that very distinctive Old Peculier, I guess, kind of pump clip motif on the front there. An absolute plethora of info on the back, as you would expect from a brewery such as Theakston. And yeah, doesn't look bad, eh? Let's get into it. Standard pint glass for this one, as most of the beers in the Origin series, given they are pretty traditional. Bit lively, that. Now then, a 500ml bottle of beer should fit into a pint glass, but that one, well, was so lively on the port it just didn't. But we'll review what we've got here and then we'll top it up. So in the glass, I mean, it's distinctly a rich, deep brown beer. It probably looks quite dark and black on camera, but in the light there is, yeah, it's dark brown. It's got a nice kind of, it's not quite caramel, but it's a bit deeper than off-white, kind of, yeah, decent looking head on it. It's a bit foamy, it's a bit frothy. It's probably not going to stick around too long, but it's as clear as a bell. And yeah, where did that phrase come from? Clear as a bell. Bells aren't clear. Oh, the sound. The sound is clear. There you go. Work something out. Anyway, aromas. Oh, I mean, it is distinctly old school, but at the same time, I can see why this beer, in a lot of people's eyes, has stood the test of time, because it's got this nice, big, rich, it's a duo of caramel and red berry flavours. Big helping of trad bitterness in there, but yeah, it smells pretty good. And actually that head now has calmed down. It looks quite silky. It looks quite, yeah, not bad at all. Right then, let's give it a go, shall we? Cheers. That was pokey. What is the ABV on this? Okay, it's 5.6%, so it is a bit pokey. It's tame by modern standards, really, but it's definitely got some life to it. It tastes quite boozy, to be honest. It's quite rich. It's full of big, rich, dominant, well, traditional beer notes, but I think they're a bit bigger and brasher, and yeah, it's not afraid to be tasty, this one. I think you can probably tell already. We're onto a winner. This is a damn good day. Right then, let me top this up. We'll do a quick top to bottom taste test before we pitch it against, well, itself, really. So then, initially, kind of mid-carbonation level. It was a bit lively up front, but you wouldn't say it was flat, but it's not kind of a effervescent rocket either. It's just got this kind of nice spritzy bit at the start, along with a good helping of, like I say, trad hop bitterness, and then across the front of the tongue, that's where you're getting your kind of, I'd say, subtle complexities. Sweet, red fruit, berry, maybe a hint of caramel at that point, but it's pretty dialed back. And then mid-palate, if it was possible just to only experience one part of a beer, and you could ignore what happened before and what happened after, I think you would think that this, just at that moment in time, was just a nice, heavily malted German beer, because it's got that crisp, bready, almost pretzel-like, just, oh yes, refreshing, slightly sweet, give me some more, glorious hot weather drinking refreshment. But it is only for a second, as you can probably imagine, because then we're straight back into trad ale. The bitterness starts to creep back in, but it's soft, it's subtle, it's quite refined. And that sweet malt thing from the middle just carries on, starts to develop. A few caramel notes come in. And I'll be honest, that whole back section of the tongue experience with this beer is absolutely phenomenal. And it's quite subtle as well. But then the aftertaste, all sorts going on. The caramel comes in on the full. Sweet, but also bitter. A load of kind of hop, natural, green, a few earthy notes as well. And then you're left with a semi-dry bitterness that just, well, insists you go back for another swig. As you can probably tell, yes, it's a thumbs up. Does Theakston's Old Peculier still cut it in 2023? Yeah, it does actually. It's really, really good. This has lost none of its appeal for me at all. That is still an absolutely fantastic beer. And now the time has come to pitch it against, as I say, kind of itself, the distilled version of this very liquid. So let me move the beer bottle out of the way, set the pint glass aside, bringing a little whiskey snifter glass. And let's try them side by side, because to be honest, one of the fine things in life, for me anyway, is to enjoy a quality whiskey with a side of quality trad ale. And yes, it's not whiskey, and maybe this trad ale is a bit too strong to be doing that with normally, and maybe a bit too flavourful, but if these pair together well, which they should, because it's the same base ingredient, it's the same product, just this one went through a few extra stages, we should be in for a very good time indeed. So the takeaway, as I say, from the nose on this is rich, sweet, caramel, berry. But in the distilled version, oh, that's interesting. They aren't dissimilar, but the notes that stand out are actually quite far apart. And it's not until you kind of go back and forth between the two that you realise in the aroma on the beer, underneath all of those sweeter berry and caramel notes, there is some green hop bitterness there. Green hop, earthy, leafy, grassy note. And whilst I wouldn't say it was necessarily piney or grassy, there's a floral, there's a meadow quality to the aroma on the distilled version, on the spirit here, that just helps you appreciate another layer to this beer. So let's give it a go, shall we? Cheers, once again. This is quite soft, to be honest. It's strong, it's 40%, it's a proper boozy spirit, hard liquor, but it doesn't have a lot of fire or a lot of bite. It's quite literally soft on the palate. It's a bit sweet, a bit floral, a bit even medicinal in parts. But as a combo, to go back and forth between, I mean, it shouldn't be surprising that they match, but I mean, they just match so well. So well. I don't know what else to say. I mean, again, it shouldn't be a surprise, but really, that is a delightful duo. And as much as I've enjoyed this Spirit of Old Peculier, and you can tell I have, because, well, half the bottle more has gone, I actually think I've been ignoring Theakston's Old Peculier on the supermarket shelves for a bit too long, because I don't know if it's because it's a fresh bottle or because I've just been there on holiday or whatever, but that is absolutely fantastic. And that really is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.